All right, hey guys, we are at our neighbors and friends' house, Kayla and Matt Lee. Matt couldn't be with us, I think he's working, right? So it's just me and Kayla and little Delta. She's got almost a year-old baby. She's being a trooper. So we just wanted to introduce her, and she's gonna give a little bit of her story. We went to school together, went to church together, and I think we kind of moved back to Frankfort right around the same time, right? When we moved back from North Carolina, and they built their house here, and we built our house. And now we are doing a lot of the same things. We're into a lot of the same stuff and a lot of similar interests. Sometimes we go about things a little bit differently, but I think we all have the end goals of the same kind of things. So, and our family values are a lot alike too. So, here is Kayla, and she's going to introduce herself and tell a little bit about her story, and we'll go from there.
So guys, I'm Kayla, my husband Matt, and our daughter Delta. I lived on this farm before we got married. I've been out here since birth. The farm has actually been in our family since the late 1800s. That's my daughter, she'll be okay. Maybe.
Sounds bad.
Time out! So I'm back, and this is Delta Sue. So I've been out on this farm since I was born. My grandparents live just across that way. My parents live out that window. And from a small child, I always knew I wanted to grow up on this house, on this hill, and build our house right here. I wanted to be just close enough that I could go to my mom's for dinner and over to borrow tools from my grandfather. And I went on an internship to Florida, and the night before I left, I took a picture of this hill on the sunset, and I said, when we get back, we're building our house there. And so we ended up living in Lexington, which is a bigger town, for a short time, and I absolutely hated it. It was in a neighborhood. Every day was stressful. I hated it, absolutely hated it. So we started looking for plans. I found this house plan in Southern Living magazine, and we had someone draw them up for us. It was actually my elementary school teacher. It was her husband. And so we went out to his house and we met with him, and on the first night he started laughing when we showed him the plans, and he had just drawn these plans for someone else who was planning for their forever home. So he actually already had the plans ready. So we started this journey about 2 years ago. Our house took about a year and 2 months to build from breaking ground to the end. We moved in September, and it's just been a whirlwind. I was pregnant with Delta through the whole build, and I did maternity leave, came here and worked at the house every day on all kinds of projects, and now we get to really enjoy it, and so that's what we're looking forward to. Is just enjoying the space, enjoying the outdoors. We've got new baby chicks, and we already had a couple hens that we have outside in our coop, and it's just gonna be a fun spring. We've got some plans to finish up our garden beds. We've already got one cedar bed built, and we've got plans for 2 or 3 more, and a window greenhouse as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I work as an occupational therapist. I work part-time at our local hospital. And my husband is a federal corrections officer, and he's also in the National Guard. So that's our story. We've accomplished a lot of goals, but we still have a lot yet to meet. So we're looking forward to this spring to get all those projects started.
I knew we were similar, but I didn't realize how similar it was that you guys put your dreams on hold while you moved. But you know, end goal was still to be back here. That's cool, because that's exactly how we did it. And there was a time when we didn't know if we would be back or not, but the house was still there, and it was still being paid for whether we liked it or not. So that's kind of cool. I didn't realize that. So I guess really we were building our house around the same time. And you can almost see our house from here. If you look out is it your back?
That'd be the front porch.
Front porch. If you look out her front porch door, you can almost see our house, but there's a tree in the way. But they are super close. They are right down the road. So I think it's really cool. I think we are gonna share a lot of ideas and do a lot of brainstorming together and hopefully share along the journey together. So it's cool to know someone else like us. Not completely like us, because I know y'all are a little bit more established, but it's really neat to have friends with similar goals and interests, especially when they're a mile down the road. I think it was 1.1 miles, so that's really cool. So the plan was to take a tour around their house and see their land and their chickens and stuff, but right before I came here, it started raining and it's really nasty out there now. So we're gonna do that another day.
So just before Delta was born, you know, we had this house and this room in mind for homeschooling. And we knew from the get-go that was something that was gonna be a passion and that we were gonna pursue basically since birth. I've been planning. I've got a closet full of resources. I have my friends who are saving their curriculum for us, my father's world. And so I'd always known that's something that we wanted to pursue. And, you know, Jen and I have been able to talk about it, and, you know, she's looking into pursuing it as well too. So we're going to be able to kind of feed off of each other. And I know that a lot of people don't share this opinion, but I think that she'll agree that we have precious babies and they are a gift from God, and that I don't want my child to spend 8+ hours a day somewhere else. And so I want to be able to go on these adventures and watch her learn how to read and how to write and how to garden and, you know, basic life skills, and have fun while doing it as a family. So that's kind of our story for homeschool. Obviously, we have quite a few years left to plan. We're not quite there yet.
Well, you know, like she was saying with the homeschool, I feel exactly the same way. And I currently have one child in school, Wyatt. You guys know Wyatt's in school. But that wasn't my plan. Like she said, from birth, my plan was to homeschool. And I even told Zach before we got married, I said, actually it was before we went on a date, I said, look, I'm gonna homeschool my kids and I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom, and if you can't handle that, then let's not go any further with this. And he agreed. So that was the plan. But and we homeschooled. I mean, I think I started with him when he was 2, and, you know, just teaching and learning at home, and you know, doing school in his room and doing crafts and learning his letters. But 2 weeks before kindergarten was to start, I chickened out, and it was kind of at a rough point in life and my own journey where I just didn't have the confidence for it, and I didn't think I was good enough. And, you know, I had people around me telling me that I was, and it was fine, but just inside I didn't feel like I was capable of teaching him. So I chickened out and I sent him to school, and he's done really well. He's had an amazing year. He's thriving. He's learned so much. He's a teacher's pet. He's got all kinds of friends. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't feel right. And I am tired of watching him struggle with having to leave home and go when he knows that me and Raylan are home and Zach's home most of the time. And, you know, breaks come along and he's home for a week or 2 weeks, and then he has to go back, and it's just really tough. And he hasn't really been able to adjust to that the way that I thought he would. You know, everybody says it'll get easier, he'll adjust, it'll be fine. Well, he hasn't. So about a month ago, we decided that we were just kind of done with that, and we're gonna do what we think is right for our family. We're gonna let him finish his year of kindergarten, and then he will be home. So it's exciting to know someone that is doing that same thing and that has those same values and looks at it the same way, so that when I talk to the other 500 people I know, they don't look at me like I have 2 heads and I'm an alien.
And you know, it's not to say that we don't value teachers. I mean, we were obviously taught by teachers. I have family members who are teachers. However, grades, kindergarten through 12th grade, are not going to be family members, and we just don't know whose hands we're putting our kids into.
Yeah.
And so for us, you know, the joy comes from teaching our kids and not letting that phase of life come from somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And also, you know, not even the teachers sometimes. The teachers can be the most wonderful and beautiful people in the world. And a lot of them that I know are. But you gotta also think they're surrounded by 25 other kids. That's where their biggest influence is coming from, unfortunately. It's not coming from the teachers. It's coming from the other kids, and that's rough. I mean, to trust another 5-year-old with teaching your 5-year-old the right things to do and the right way to act, I mean, that's just not, it's not possible. So that's another reason that's played in our decision. And I don't know, it'll be a journey, but at least we'll know that we're both on it and we can try to figure it out as we go. And we've both agreed, she's also said it's kind of a year-by-year thing. You know, we'll assess at the end of each year, and if we need to make other arrangements, then that's what we'll do. We're always going to do what's best for our kids. I think that's the main thing. And what we feel best for our kids is to teach them ourselves. I wanted to talk to Kayla a little bit about her garden plans this year. And I think we've both had kind of the same inspiration, so they might be a little bit similar.
So this room I've created, I've set up our greenhouse. It's just a cheap $20 greenhouse from Rural King.
She also loves Rural King. Y'all hear us talk about Rural King all the time.
If you don't have a Rural King near you, you need to seek one out.
Yes, you do.
Or open one. So we went to Rural King. I had no intentions of buying the greenhouse, but we bought it. It was $20, and I thought, at least for our homeschool room, it'd be great to teach the kids about growing plants and things like that. So far I've got onions started in there. This week we built 1 cedar raised garden bed, and our plans are for 2 or 3 more, plus our window greenhouse outside. So in gardens past, we would get in over our heads. We had a 20 by 25 foot garden in our old house in a neighborhood. And the first year of harvest, we had way more than we knew what to do with. And so from that point on, we decided that we were going to do raised garden beds and keep it manageable because of weeds. So that's why we built our raised garden beds this year. And our plans are to grow what we eat. So I've looked at several of our grocery lists over the past several months in my planner, because I make all my grocery lists in there, and I look at the things that we buy from the produce section. And so I really wanted to limit it to just that for this first year. There's tons of varieties. I'm learning new things every day from Roots and Refuge and other channels on YouTube. And it's exciting, and I want to jump in, and I want to have packets and packets of seeds. But for this year, I just want to take it slow and start with the basics. We have a couple heirloom varieties planned. I want to have a good set of pumpkins for decorating this fall as well. Our plans are for carrots and radishes and turnips. Got onions, like I said, 3 varieties of tomatoes. And I too have bought most of my seeds from Wilson's. We have a great resource in our local nursery, and I can't say enough about them. And so that's kind of my plans. I did watch y'all's video on, you know, the 5 things that you all plan, but I'd like to hear more about what else you have planned to grow.
You kept it much more realistic than I did. I wish I haven't quite sat down, but I know I'm doing a tea garden for sure. That's just kind of a hobby kind of thing that I want to do. I recently got into tea, so I'm really excited about having a tea garden. I think I'm going to do most of that in my greenhouse to keep the animals off of my herbs and my flowers. So hopefully that'll work. We are doing some gourds as well. We're doing birdhouse gourds and loofah gourds, and then we're doing pumpkins for the kids. The little, I think they're called Jack B. little pumpkins. They're so cute. So they can decorate those and paint those, and a lot of vegetables. Peppers, I think I have probably 8 different varieties of peppers, and that's the most of a vegetable. That's the most varieties that I have, just because we love peppers. The kids love peppers, we love peppers. I like to can them and I like to freeze them because we cook with them a lot. So a lot of peppers. A lot of family has asked me to grow tomatoes for them, and I'm doing a few for us, mainly for salsas and spaghetti sauces and stuff like that, but we don't really eat tomatoes, just like raw tomatoes. It's not really our thing. So I think I have probably 5 varieties of tomatoes I'm doing. I'm gonna try carrots. I've never tried them before. Probably won't work, but we'll see. I've got some broccoli, some spinach, a few different kinds of lettuces, a bunch of salad mixes, stuff like that. I got the Homestead collection from In My Gardener, but it's got some unrealistic stuff like corn. Realistically, I just don't think that's gonna happen. So a lot of those I'm just gonna save just kind of as a keepsake and not try to worry about that.
Do you have any flowers planned?
Yes, I have a lot of flowers, but you know those aren't gonna work.
Well, I mean, when we had our last garden, I found more enjoyment out of the cut flowers. I had tons of zinnias, and we had peonies and
a bunch of zinnias.
So, you know, I want to have at least one decent garden bed full of cut flowers. I don't know if you know what Corey. Yeah. A friend of ours has Wild Fern Farm. They just started in their greenhouse, and they do cut flowers here in our town. So I'm going to kind of catch up with her and learn from her. There's also a great book that I've been reading. And I think something Jen and I really utilize in our town as well as our great library. So if there's a book that somebody has suggested to me on here on Instagram, I usually go and check it out of the library first before I add it to my own library. Yeah. And same here. We just have a really excellent resource in the Paul Sawyer Library in Frankfort, not only for us, but for the kids as well. And so I always try to tell people, you know, if there's a book that you're interested in, and you're not sure if you want to spend $30, $40 on it, see if your local library has it first. And that way you can check it out before you buy.
Yeah, there's not one book that I've went and looked for that they didn't have. I've found everything so far. And like she said, I'll read them. If I love them, I'll put them on my Amazon wish list and maybe get them later. But yeah, we do have a great library. And Wilson. Are y'all gonna do any fruit trees?
I'm probably going to look for them when they go on clearance at Lowe's. Same. I'm going to start with the garden. I mean, you know, in the future, we really want a weeping willow. That was what we'd always said we wanted. And they're supposed to be close to a water source, and we have several ponds around us. So we're gonna hopefully get a weeping willow here. That's probably going to be our first goal, and then after that, we'll pursue some fruit trees in the area.
I wanted to ask Kayla where she got her cedar planks for her raised beds.
Yeah, so that was a project we just started this week. We kind of made it up as we went. My intention was to have 12-foot beds, 12 by 4 foot, but we went to a local cedar mill. It's in Baghdad, which is also home of our feed supplier, Baghdad Feed. And so going to Baghdad, we make an afternoon of it. So we stop at the B&N, get a cheeseburger, an oatmeal cream pie, and meal 8.
An ice cream cone? You have an ice cream cone?
Oh man, get one. You got a massive one. And then we'll make our way over to get the feed. Well, this trip we needed wood, and this is actually one of the best lumber mills in the area. Several of our friends that make furniture had actually recommended it to us, and they don't even live anywhere near here. So we knew it was going to be a great spot.
She's having a heyday.
Delta is currently playing with my Garden Start solo cups.
Oh, she's loving it.
So these cups, I actually, I was trying to be more eco-friendly, and these cups I actually got, I played bunco last week, and when all the ladies were leaving, I said, can I have your cup? And they were like, sure, okay. So I put them in the top rack and washed them out, and then I've been using Jeremiah's trick with the drill to drill holes through all of them at once.
Clever.
So that's what our plan is for those cups. Delta enjoys trash more than toys.
Yeah.
Baghdad Lumber Mill, it's way out of town, way off the road, but it's a really neat business. You go in, they've got cedar, they've got walnut, they've got pine, tons of varieties. They have live slabs as well. And so we picked up 10, they were 6-inch boards, 8 foot long. We got 10 of those, and we made one 18-inch raised garden bed. And I can't wait to show you that. I can't show you that today because it's awfully muddy out there, but I just love the whole idea of supporting a local business. And when you get to this place, you can tell these men really work hard to provide quality wood to our community. And so if you have a lumber mill near you, their prices were very competitive with Lowe's, and actually the wood was much better quality.
Yeah.
So if you have a lumber mill near you, I would suggest checking them out and giving them their support.
All right. So now that we've got all the serious stuff out of the way, I wanted to ask Kayla what her and Matt do for fun. We live in Frankfort, which is a great town. I will never put Frankfort down. I truly love it. But not much for young couples to do. So we'll see.
Frankfort is a good midpoint between two large cities, Lexington and Louisville. We spent 3 years in Lexington, and I have absolutely no interest in ever going back. So we have since directed our attention to Louisville. And there's a particular part of Louisville, Nulu, and there are tons of businesses that are just sprouting up there. There's even a Fresh Grow Supply, which is where I was able to go a couple weeks ago. They have a lot of organic gardening in mind, tools and seeds, and we picked up some horse manure compost, and they also sell raised beds there. If that's something that you'd be interested in near Louisville, check that out. So a perfect night for us is going to Louisville and checking out a small establishment for dinner. We might go to a brewery, or just stop at some small shops and check them out. On a Saturday, my husband's generally working, so Delta and I, our favorite thing to do is to go antiquing. Antiquing has been my hobby long before anything else. My grandmother raised me to keep my hands in my pockets in an antique store and appreciate good junk. And so ever since I was a little kid, I've always loved to go antiquing. So that's where you can usually find us on a Saturday. And that's kind of where the inspiration for our home came from, was all the antiques that I enjoyed over the years. And so taking time to hand select antiques and antique furniture and pieces for our home was a big part of this building process. The house that used to sit in front of where our house is now was my great-grandparents, and before them it would have been my great-great-grandparents. And it was a farmhouse built in the early 1900s, possibly late 1800s. And my grandmother, it made her sad to look at it because it was just completely falling in and had shown its wear. So I had it torn down during our building process, but not before we pulled so many things out of the home. And I'll have Jennifer take some pictures to share with you guys of some of the pieces that I was able to salvage. We have several doors. Tried to pry up the floorboards, but they were nailed down. They were 12-inch boards, and they had 2 nails in each one. And so after about an hour of prying them up, I realized it just wasn't going to happen, and I gave up on that. But we also have the bricks from the chimney that we tore down. And so that's kind of what we've incorporated in our house. My favorite piece in our whole house is our mantle. And that mantle was taken out of the front room of that older home, and it's where my grandfather proposed to his grandmother. And so on our mantle, we have the picture of them that night after their engagement sitting in front of the mantle. And so, that's what I like to do for fun. I love shopping, but now that I have a child, I always made fun of my mom for having her 1980s closet full of all those clothes. And I always made fun of why she never showed interest in a new wardrobe, but now I completely understand. So if we do go shopping, it's usually for Delta or it's for antiques. So that's what a fun night and day looks for us. That's what we like to get into.
A lot of y'all, if you're followers of Kayla, which you have a really big following on Instagram, right?
It's taken a lot of work, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. So if y'all are watching, you already know that Kayla and Matt have the most beautiful house that Frankfurt has ever seen. But I'll try to show a little bit of it. And you all were in the magazine this week in Frankfurt?
Yep, we were in our local Frank magazine. From my understanding that the State Journal created this magazine to kind of reach more viewers, and they put out one once a month, and they just feature citizens of Frankfurt. They have a home and garden section. They have Frankfurt happenings and events. They take pictures at events of people who attended and shared that, and it's just a great local resource. And so I reached out to the editor back in, I believe it was in August, and was wondering if they would be interested in having our home in the magazine. And you know, the editor was very interested, and they wanted to come out and shoot in October. And my grandmother suddenly passed away, and she was my best friend. She was my inspiration for many things I did in life. She taught me a lot, and so that was a really tough time, and I was in a really low place, and we had just moved into our home. And so I just wasn't quite ready for, you know, a photo shoot and interview that would mostly be talking about her and her legacy. And so I put it on hold and reached out to them the first of the year when I felt like I was at a place where I could talk about it. And they came out, they gave me a week's notice to clean up the house, and we got it all cleaned up, and they took some photos, and we were in that magazine that just released this week. And it's really neat, and I hope that our story can reach a lot of people, because I've liked, you know, really taking the time to have a story in every room, have items in the room that really tell a story. I didn't want to just buy stuff or just go to Lowe's and get something that was simple and basic. I wanted every room to tell a story. So far, my journey has been within the walls of this house, but I'm so excited to get outside and finally explore this land that I grew up on and really utilize it for all that it's worth, with farm animals and a garden. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to with that.
That's hard. Ours was too. We've spent so much time inside trying to build and do stuff and make things livable that we didn't really have time outside. So I think, you know, we've done little stuff out there each year. Like, we have had a garden, we have had chickens, we've had pigs, but I think this year it's finally time to focus all our energy outside and making the land provide for us and turn it into what we want it to be, with garden and animals and whatever else, just beauty, just having a nice, because I mean, I know like you, it's hard to look out there when you hardly even see any grass at all. You know, when you have a build site, it takes years to recoup from that and to make it what you want to be. So that's going to be nice to just finally look out and see what you wanted to see instead of all the destruction.
Yeah, and I completely forgot to talk about my animals. We have 2 dogs, and we did have 3 cats. My best buddy, he left and he hasn't been back, so I'm fearful that something got a hold of him. But we have Conway Kitty, Loretta Lynn, Trace Adkins, and he only has 3 legs, so he's Trace Adkins. And we have Finley Jean Carter, Charlie Daniels. Our 2 hens are Dixie Chick and Dolly Carton, and then we have 5 baby chicks that I have yet to name. But that's just the start. Our hope in years to come is to get alpacas. That's always been a goal of ours. We think they're adorable, and I would like to learn to spin their fur. So that's several years down the line.
Do y'all have any interest in goats?
Matt wants milk goats,
yeah.
But dairy goats, I don't think. Delta only drinks goat milk.
Really?
So
well, that would be perfect.
Yeah, but I said after watching Jess's videos about how much work it was when she was milking her goats, and all the videos when she used to go out in her Instagram stories and work on all that you have to do as far as fencing and all, getting their pin and all that.
Yeah.
We have lots of neighbors who have cows and sheep, and we can look at them at the fence line, and that's probably about as much as I'll be able to handle. But maybe goats in the future. We've got lots of good neighbors around here that if we want to go play with goats for a day, we can. We have some friends down the road who have 40 baby lambs. So we're going to go play with them here soon. And that might be the extent of that journey for us.
All right. We hope y'all have enjoyed, and we're going to do a little wrap up. I just kind of wanted to ask her what their long-term 5 years down the road, where they want to be with the house, with the land, family-wise, everything. What's your long-term goal?
When we built this house, we knew we wanted kids, and so we have one, and we knew we wanted to grow our family pretty quickly, and so that is what our next goal is, to have 3 or 4 kids. And raise them up, teach them life skills, and homeschool them. And so that's kind of from a family perspective what the next 5 years will look like for us. And then we also have a dream to be very financially stable. Obviously, when you build a house, obviously when you build a house, the budgets can get out of hand, and I'll be quite honest, ours did. And so we will obviously be paying for this home for the rest of our lives, but we will be here for the rest of our lives, and we have high hopes that our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will want to stay here as well. That was always our idea, was to build a home that would last forever and that would be timeless, and that our future relatives would want to keep our own dream going. So we would like to be consumer debt-free within the next 5 years. We have been very blessed to not have student loan debt. And so really all of the debt that we have is from one vehicle that we had to refinance to get creative to finish up the home loan. And so after that, we just have 2 credit cards. And so I feel like that's a pretty achievable goal, to be consumer debt-free within the next 5 years. So that's kind of where we stand with that. And then as far as the farm as a whole, I hope to see 2 alpacas, 20, 25 chickens, maybe 1 baby calf, just because they're cute. I would like to raise it for meat. I don't know that I could slaughter it.
Yeah.
But just a handful of farm animals. I don't really want a petting zoo. I want things that are going to kind of provide back to me. So that's kind of what our overall goal is.
That is awesome. That is an awesome goal.
What does yours look like? Or maybe if you want to just do 1 year out, what are you looking for?
We'll do 1 year.
You can save a 5 year for another video.
Land-wise, our year goal, which honestly, hopefully will be accomplished by fall. Get our chickens outside, continue to raise them. Not gonna have much egg production this year because they are so young. We lost our entire flock last year. So we have no egg layers besides our ducks, which will be over soon. They only lay in the spring. So get our chickens out, get them growing. Ideally not lose any, but probably not a realistic goal. Keep as many as we can alive, keep adding to them if we have to. Garden, I want it to be as big and as prosperous as possible. Although we will be traveling some, we're gonna try to keep it maintainable, harvest everything that we can, and preserve, can, freeze, dehydrate. Dehydrate is something I've never done, so that's one thing I'm gonna have to learn this year. Although I don't think it's that hard. I think you can probably just read the instructions.
Or you can watch a video on YouTube.
Or you can watch YouTube. And 2 goats. The 2 goats I'm hoping to have before summer. The pen will be done this weekend, but I don't just want to go and get them. I want to wait a few weeks because we do have a lot of traveling coming up. So after the majority of that is done, then we can start with 2 goats and see where that goes, see where that leads us, see how many babies we get out of that, and see if we like them or not. We've never been goat people, so it's just something that we'll experience and see if we're goat people or not. I know we're not pig people, so hopefully we'll be goat people or chicken people. Those are easy. So that's kind of our year goal, and hopefully end this year with a full freezer, a full pantry, full shelves. I want everything to be full to set us up until next spring when it's time to start it all over again. So that's our goals. And we'll wrap it up, and then I will try to get some beautiful pictures, which won't be hard, and show you just a glimpse of Kayla's house for those that haven't seen it. So thank y'all for joining us, and we're excited about this. We're excited about making friendships and going along this journey together. All right, we'll see y'all later. Okay. It's appropriate. Hang on, let me write this stuff down here. Once I start talking. Okay, I'll start when I'm ready. Zach, get it.
Thank you for editing this video. Make us look good.
I give them a lot of junk to cipher through. Okay.